Can I play for food? Aliens laughed at the homeless human, not knowing he's a piano prodigy. Before we dive into this story, drop a quick hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. It really helps support the channel. The evening air carried a crisp bite on this corner of New Harmony, the gleaming interstellar hub where 7 galactic species had established Earth's first alien embassy complex. Through the mist of light rain, a solitary human figure huddled against the wall of the prestigious Galactic Cultural Exchange Center, his threadbare coat pulled tight against the cold. Liam Carter had not always been homeless. Once, he had been celebrated in concert halls across Earth. But life had a way of taking unexpected turns, and now here he was, hungry and desperate, watching wealthy aliens enter the grandest music hall humanity had ever built. The massive crystalline structure of the Cultural Exchange Center dominated New Harmony's skyline. Designed as the crown jewel of human-alien relations, it housed the largest collection of interstellar musical instruments in Earth's hemisphere, including a legendary Zentari harmonic piano, an instrument so complex that most beings with fewer than 12 appendages couldn't hope to master it. Liam watched the elegantly dressed aliens file into the building for the evening's cultural gala. His stomach growled painfully. It had been 2 days since his last proper meal, and the small handwritten sign propped against his backpack read simply, "Can I play for food?" Most passers-by, both human and alien, ignored him. The few who noticed either gave him pitying glances or, worse, looks of disdain. Especially the Zentari, a tall, graceful species with 4 arms and an air of perpetual sophistication. They were renowned throughout the galaxy for their musical abilities, particularly their mastery of the harmonic piano. As the evening wore on, the crowd thinned. The last stragglers hurried inside, eager to escape the worsening weather. Liam was about to pack up his meager belongings when a group of 5 Zentari emerged from a sleek hovering transport. "I told you we should have left earlier, Malak," said one of the Zentari in the universal translator language. "Now we'll miss the opening performance." "Relax, Saren," replied another, presumably Malak. "Nobody cares about the human performances anyway. They're just a courtesy. The real music starts when Virtuoso Valari takes the stage." As the group passed Liam, the one called Saren noticed his sign. She paused, her luminescent eyes scanning the words. "Look at this," she said, gesturing with one of her 4 arms. "A human who thinks he can play." The other Zentari gathered around, their tall, willowy frames towering over Liam's huddled form. Their skin shimmered with a pearlescent quality in the rain-slicked evening light. "Can I play for food?" Malak read aloud, his voice tinged with amusement. "Play what, human? The drums? That seems to be the limit of your species' musical capability." "Actually," Liam said quietly, his voice hoarse from disuse, "I play the piano." This statement was met with a round of laughter from the Zentari group. "The piano? A human," said one of the others, who wore an elaborate headpiece that marked her as someone of high status. "Even your most accomplished pianists can barely handle our simplest compositions. And you, in your condition, claim such ability?" Liam said nothing, just looked down at his worn shoes. "Come now, Valari," said Saren to the one with the headpiece. "Don't be cruel. Perhaps he can play one of those simple human melodies. Those require little skill." The one called Valari, whom Liam now recognized as the renowned Zentari virtuoso scheduled to perform that evening, looked down at him with what seemed like genuine curiosity mingled with her condescension. "Tell me, human," she said, her voice melodic even when speaking the translator language, "what makes you think you can play well enough to earn food?" Before Liam could respond, a tall human woman in the distinctive uniform of the Cultural Exchange Center's security force approached. "Is there a problem here?" she asked, her hand resting casually on her stunner. "Not at all, officer," Valari said smoothly. "We were just having a conversation with this musician." The security officer, whose name badge read Taylor Rhodes, glanced at Liam with a mixture of sympathy and professional detachment. "Sir, I'm afraid you can't solicit here. This is a restricted area during events. I was just leaving," Liam said, reaching for his sign. Wait, said Valari suddenly, her four hands moving in the complex gestural language of the Zentari. I have a proposition. The other Zentari looked at her in surprise. Virtuoso? Questioned Malak. What are you doing? Valari ignored him and addressed Liam directly. You claim to play the piano. I am curious to see if there is any truth to this claim. She turned to Officer Rhodes. Would it be possible to allow this human to demonstrate his alleged skills? Inside the center? Rhodes frowned. Ma'am, with all due respect, we have protocols. I am tonight's featured performer. Valari interrupted, her tone leaving no room for argument. Consider it part of my preparation to experience what passes for human musical ability. It might provide an enlightening contrast. The security officer hesitated, then tapped her communication device. After a brief exchange, she nodded reluctantly. Director Hayes has approved, given your status, Virtuoso Valari. But, she turned to Liam, you'll need to go through security screening first. Liam slowly got to his feet, gathering his few possessions. His heart raced with a mixture of hope and trepidation. It had been so long since he'd touched a piano, over 2 years since he'd lost everything. But his fingers still moved in his dreams, dancing across keys that weren't there, playing pieces he'd once known by heart. Thank you, he said softly to Valari, who waved 2 of her hands dismissively. Don't thank me yet, human. This is merely an experiment. I'm curious to see what your kind considers musical talent. She glanced at her companions with amusement. Besides, we could use some entertainment before the real performance begins. As they entered the grand foyer of the Cultural Exchange Center, Liam felt acutely aware of his shabby appearance amid the opulence of the place. The ceiling soared hundreds of feet above them, a masterpiece of human and alien architectural collaboration. Crystal chandeliers infused with bioluminescent organisms from the Pleiadian system cast a soft, otherworldly glow over the marble floors. After being scanned and cleared by security, Liam followed the Zentari group and Officer Rhodes down a side corridor, away from the main concert hall, where preparations for the evening's gala were underway. We'll use one of the practice rooms, Valari announced. I'm not about to let this human touch my performance instrument. They entered a smaller chamber, though even this practice room was larger than any concert hall Liam had played in during his career. At the center stood a Zentari harmonic piano, not quite as grand as the one that would be used in the main performance, but still an exquisite instrument. Its curved, sculptural form gleamed under the lights, the multiple keyboards arranged in a semicircle as if embracing the player. Liam approached it reverently. The harmonic piano was not just larger and more complex than Earth pianos. It operated on fundamentally different principles. Instead of simply striking strings, it manipulated sound waves directly, creating harmonics impossible on traditional instruments. It was designed for beings with 4 arms, able to play across multiple octaves simultaneously. You see now, human, said Malak with a smirk. This is not one of your primitive instruments. Liam said nothing, just gazed at the piano with undisguised longing. Well? Prompted Valari impatiently. You claimed you could play? Prove it. Taking a deep breath, Liam sat at the instrument. The bench was too tall for human proportions, forcing him to perch awkwardly at its edge. The Zentari watched with barely concealed amusement as he positioned his hands over the keys. 2 hands where their players would have 4. Maybe we should at least let him try a human piano, suggested Saren, showing a hint of compassion. No, said Valari firmly. He claimed he could play. Let him attempt our instrument. Liam closed his eyes for a moment, centering himself. Then, he began to play. The first few notes were tentative, as he adjusted to the alien keyboard. The Zentari exchanged smug glances. But then, something remarkable happened. Liam's hands began to move with increasing confidence, finding positions and techniques that no human teacher had ever shown him, because no human had mastered them. He played a piece that started simply enough, a melody that even the Zentari recognized as human classical music, but then it transformed, incorporating harmonic structures that should have been impossible for a 2-armed being to produce. The smug expressions on the Zentari faces gradually gave way to confusion, then astonishment. Liam's body swayed as he played, his hands blurring across the keyboard in ways that defied conventional understanding of human dexterity. "How is he doing that?" whispered Malak, his forearms hanging limp at his sides. Valari didn't answer, her luminescent eyes wide as she watched Liam's performance with rapt attention. What the Zentari couldn't know, was that Liam Carter had once been Earth's most promising pianist, a prodigy who had stunned audiences since childhood. Before his downfall, he had been the only human granted access to study the harmonic piano under the tutelage of a Zentari master who had seen something special in the young human. For 2 years, Liam had trained in secret, developing techniques to compensate for his physical limitations. His teacher had been convinced that Liam possessed rare innate talent that transcended species. But then came the scandal, the accusations of fraud, the loss of his reputation, and finally, homelessness. As Liam played, he poured all of this, his joy, his pain, his loss, into the music. The harmonic piano responded, filling the room with sounds that even the Zentari rarely heard from their own virtuosos. Officer Rhodes stood by the door, her professional demeanor cracking as she watched this disheveled homeless man create something beautiful beyond words. She discreetly tapped her communication device. By the time Liam finished the piece, a hybrid of Earth's most complex piano compositions and Zentari harmonic structures, the room had filled with additional spectators. Other security personnel, event staff, and even a few early arriving dignitaries who had heard rumors of something extraordinary happening in one of the practice rooms. For several seconds after the final notes faded, there was absolute silence. Then Valari stepped forward. "Who are you?" she demanded, all trace of condescension gone from her voice. Liam looked up, his eyes tired but clear. "I told you. I'm just a pianist who would like something to eat." "No human plays like that," said Malak. "It's not physically possible." "Apparently it is," said a new voice from the doorway. Everyone turned to see Director Logan Hayes, the human administrator of the Cultural Exchange Center, standing with an elderly Zentari whose elaborate robes marked him as someone of great importance. "Master Torvin," gasped Valari, immediately performing the Zentari gesture of deep respect. The elderly Zentari moved slowly into the room, his eyes fixed on Liam. "I thought I would never see you again, my student." Liam's composure finally broke. "Master," he whispered, his voice cracking. "I'm sorry. I didn't know you would be here." "You two know each other?" asked Director Hayes, looking between the human and the Zentari elder. Master Torvin nodded slowly. "This human was my greatest pupil. The only one who truly understood that the harmonic piano is not played merely with the arms, but with the soul." He turned to Liam. "But you disappeared 3 years ago. I was told you had died." "In a way, I did," said Liam quietly. Valari stared at them both in disbelief. "Master Torvin taught a human? You never mentioned this." "Some knowledge is not for sharing until the time is right," the old Zentari replied cryptically. "I had hoped Liam would reveal himself to the galaxy when he was ready." He looked sadly at his former student's ragged appearance. "Though I did not expect it would happen like this." Director Hayes cleared his throat. "Virtuoso Valari, the gala is about to begin. Your performance is scheduled." "Change it," she interrupted, her gaze still fixed on Liam. "I wish to perform a duet instead." A murmur ran through the gathered crowd. A Zentari virtuoso performing with a human was unprecedented. "A duet," repeated Hayes uncertainly. "With him?" "Yes," said Valari firmly. "If Master Torvin vouches for this human's ability, then I would be honored to share the stage." She turned to Liam. "That is, if you are willing." Liam looked down at his worn clothes. "I'm hardly dressed for a gala performance." "That can be remedied," said Director Hayes, already tapping his communication device. "We keep formal attire for emergency situations." "Then it seems the evening's program has changed," announced Master Torvin, his ancient face bearing the hint of a smile. "The galaxy shall witness something truly unique tonight." As the crowd dispersed to prepare for the altered program, Officer Rhodes approached Liam. "I'm sorry about earlier," she said. If I'd known. You were doing your job, Liam assured her. No apology needed. She nodded, then hesitated. May I ask, how did you end up? She gestured vaguely at his homeless appearance. Liam's eyes clouded. A combination of bad luck, bad decisions, and bad people. I was accused of using technology to enhance my performances, cheating, essentially. It wasn't true, but the damage was done. No one would hire me. I couldn't pay my debts. And eventually, he shrugged. Here I am. Not anymore, said Master Torvin, who had remained nearby. Tonight, the truth of your talent will be undeniable. Within an hour, Liam had been transformed. Freshly showered, his hair trimmed, and dressed in formal attire that fit him surprisingly well, he barely recognized himself in the mirror. As he stood in the wings of the main concert hall, listening to Director Hayes explain the program change to the assembled dignitaries, Liam felt a strange mixture of terror and exhilaration. Valari approached, resplendent in her performance attire, a flowing garment that seemed to catch and reflect light in hypnotic patterns. Are you ready, human? She asked, but the condescension was gone from her voice, replaced by professional respect. I have a name, Liam said quietly. It's Liam. Very well, Liam, she replied with a slight bow. Are you ready to show the galaxy what humans are truly capable of? He nodded, and together they walked onto the stage. The main concert hall of the Galactic Cultural Exchange Center was a marvel of acoustic engineering. Designed to enhance the unique properties of the harmonic piano, its architecture followed mathematical principles that amplified sound in ways that still mystified human scientists. At the center of the stage stood the primary Zentari harmonic piano, larger and more elaborate than the practice instrument Liam had played earlier. As Liam and Valari took their positions at the instrument, a hush fell over the audience, an eclectic mixture of Earth's elite and representatives from 7 alien species. Many were visibly confused by the unexpected appearance of a human co-performer. Director Hayes stepped forward to address the crowd. Distinguished guests, we have a unique opportunity this evening. Virtuoso Valari will be performing a duet with Liam Carter, a human master of the harmonic piano and former student of our honored guest, Master Torvin. The announcement sent a wave of whispers through the audience. The idea of a human playing the harmonic piano at this level was, to most, absurd. Humans were known for their music, certainly, but the complexity of Zentari instruments was thought to be beyond their physical capabilities. Liam felt hundreds of eyes on him, skeptical, curious, dismissive. He recognized this feeling. It was the same one he'd experienced as a child prodigy, always having to prove himself, always being underestimated. But now the stakes were infinitely higher. Valari leaned close. What shall we play? She asked quietly. Do you know the concerto of Shared Skies? Liam asked. Her eyes widened slightly. That piece requires perfect synchronization. It is challenging even for 2 Zentari to perform. Trust me, said Liam with a confidence that surprised even himself. Valari studied him for a moment, then nodded. She adjusted her position at the right side of the instrument, leaving Liam the left, the more technically demanding section, which would normally require all 4 of a Zentari's arms. Without further discussion, they began. The Concerto of Shared Skies was a legendary Zentari composition written to celebrate the first interstellar alliance centuries ago. It told the story of 2 different worlds finding harmony despite their differences. The symbolism was not lost on anyone present. The opening notes floated through the hall like distant stars, sparse, delicate, precise. Valari played her part flawlessly, as expected, but all eyes were on Liam, watching for the inevitable moment when the human would falter. It never came. Instead, the audience witnessed something that defied their understanding. Liam's hands moved with a speed and precision that seemed impossible, creating cascades of notes that no human should have been able to produce. But more than just technical prowess, his playing conveyed emotion, deep, raw, authentic feeling that transcended species. As the piece progressed, something extraordinary happened. Liam and Valari began to anticipate each other's interpretive choices, responding and adapting in real time. Their performances merged into something greater than either could have created alone. The music spoke of loneliness and connection, of difference and unity, of loss and hope. In the audience, Master Torvin closed his eyes, his four hands moving slightly in his lap, following the patterns his former student was playing. A single tear traced a luminescent path down his aged face. Nearby, a group of Zentari musicians watched in stunned silence, their earlier dismissiveness replaced by something approaching reverence. One of them, the youngest, leaned forward in her seat, her eyes never leaving Liam's hands, studying, learning. The climax of the concerto built like a gathering storm, complex, dangerous, beautiful. Both performers were now playing beyond what either had thought possible, pushing each other to new heights. The harmonic piano resonated with overtones that painted colors in the air, visible to some species in the audience, felt by others as tingling sensations across their skin. When the final notes faded, the concert hall remained utterly silent for 3 full seconds, an eternity in performance terms. Then, like a dam breaking, applause erupted from every corner. Beings with 2 hands, for hands, 6 hands, and species with no hands at all found ways to express their appreciation. The sound was deafening. Liam and Valari rose and bowed together. She turned to him, all 4 of her hands performing the Zentari gesture of deepest respect, a cultural acknowledgement rarely offered to non-Zentari. As they left the stage, they were immediately surrounded by officials, journalists, and fellow musicians. Questions flew from all directions. Mr. Carter, how is it physically possible for you to play like that? Virtuoso Valari, will you be taking this human as a formal student? Is this a one-time collaboration or the beginning of a new cross-species musical movement? Director Hayes stepped in, creating space around the performers. There will be time for questions later. Right now, these artists need rest. As the crowd reluctantly dispersed, Liam found himself face to face with Master Torvin. You surpassed even my highest hopes, said the elderly Zentari. But I must know, why did you disappear? Why did you allow the galaxy to think your gift was lost? Liam glanced down. After the scandal, I couldn't find work. I was too ashamed to contact you. I thought my music was over. And now? Prompted his former teacher. Before Liam could answer, Malik approached, his earlier arrogance replaced by genuine contrition. Human, Mr. Carter, I owe you an apology, he said formally. I judged you by appearances and assumed limitations where there were none. This was wrong of me. Liam nodded acceptance of the apology. We all make judgments based on what we think we know. Indeed, said a new voice. They turned to see an elegant human woman in expensive business attire. And some of us make a living exploiting those judgments. Natalie Quinn, Liam said, his voice suddenly cold. I'm surprised to see you here. I represent the Interstellar Arts Council now, she replied smoothly. And I'm here to offer you a position as our human ambassador for cross-species musical education. After what you did, Liam asked incredulously. You were the one who spread those rumors about me using tech enhancements. You destroyed my career. Quinn had the grace to look uncomfortable. Business decisions, Liam. Nothing personal. But now circumstances have changed. Your performance tonight has created enormous potential for human prestige in the galactic community. The Council is prepared to offer full rehabilitation of your reputation, plus a very generous compensation package. Master Torvin moved protectively closer to Liam. My student does not need your counsel or your rehabilitation. His talent speaks for itself. With all due respect, Master Torvin, Quinn responded. In the real world, talent alone is rarely enough. Mr. Carter has been living on the streets. I'm offering him a way back. Liam looked at her for a long moment. You know what's ironic, Natalie? Tonight, I was literally playing for food. Something I never imagined would happen in my life. But it led me here, to reconnecting with my teacher, to performing with Virtuoso Valari, to rediscovering why I love music in the first place. He shook his head. I don't need your rehabilitation. I just needed to remember who I am. Don't be a fool. Quinn snapped, dropping her pleasant facade. This is a once-in-a-lifetime offer. Without institutional backing, this will just be one magical night before you return to obscurity. I don't think so, interjected Valari, who had been listening nearby. The Zentari Conservatory would be honored to offer Liam Carter a position as our first human instructor. After tonight's performance, our Council of Masters will not refuse. Quinn stared at her in disbelief. The Zentari Conservatory has never employed a non-Zentari in its 1,000-year history. Then it is time for that history to evolve, said Valari simply. Director Hayes, who had been standing nearby, stepped forward. And the Cultural Exchange Center would be privileged to host a regular performance series featuring Mr. Carter, if he's interested. Liam looked around at the circle of supporters who had materialized around him, alien and human alike, and felt something he hadn't experienced in years, belonging. I appreciate all these offers, he said carefully. But before I decide anything, there's something I need to do. The next evening, Liam returned to the street corner where Valari and her companions had found him. But this time, he wasn't alone. Master Torvin accompanied him, along with Officer Rhodes, who had requested to be part of what Liam was planning. Are you sure about this? Asked Rhodes, surveying the area where several homeless humans huddled against the cold. Completely, Liam replied. He approached the group cautiously, introduced himself, and explained his proposal. Initially skeptical, they gradually warmed to the idea when Master Torvin added his support. 1 week later, the smallest performance space in the Cultural Exchange Center hosted its first Harmony Project concert, featuring 6 formerly homeless musicians playing alongside Zentari teachers. The audience was small but influential, including representatives from each of the 7 galactic species and key human social service administrators. The performers weren't at Liam's level, not yet, but they all possessed genuine talent that had been buried beneath the weight of their circumstances. As the final notes of their performance faded, Director Hayes stepped onto the stage. Ladies, gentlemen, and honored beings of all designations, he began. What you've witnessed tonight is just the beginning. The Galactic Cultural Exchange Center, in partnership with the Zentari Conservatory and the New Harmony Municipal Government, is proud to announce the establishment of the Interstellar Harmony Project, a program that will identify and nurture musical talent among disadvantaged humans and, eventually, members of all species. Applause filled the room as Liam joined Hayes on stage. Music transcends our differences, Liam said simply. It saved my life twice, once when I was a child seeking escape from difficult circumstances, and again last week when I was at my lowest point. Everyone deserves that chance. In the months that followed, Liam's life transformed completely. He divided his time between teaching at the Zentari Conservatory, performing with Valari on a groundbreaking interstellar tour, and directing the rapidly expanding Harmony Project. The program quickly became a model for similar initiatives across Earth's major cities, and even inspired analogous projects on 2 other worlds. The scandal that had once destroyed Liam's career was now just a footnote in his biography. Natalie Quinn had tried one last attempt at discrediting him, reviving the old accusations. But this time, Master Torvin and the Zentari Conservatory had publicly defended their human colleague. The evidence they presented of Liam's natural ability was so overwhelming that Quinn's reputation never recovered from the backlash. 1 year after the night that had changed everything, Liam sat alone in one of the practice rooms at the Cultural Exchange Center. The grand harmonic piano gleamed under the lights as his fingers moved across the keys, working through a new composition, one that combined elements of traditional human classical music with Zentari harmonics. A knock at the door interrupted his practice. He looked up to see Officer Rhodes, now Chief Rhodes, after her promotion to head of Cultural Center Security. "They're ready for you," she said with a smile. "Full house tonight." Liam returned her smile and rose from the bench. Special occasion. 500 graduates from the Harmony Project is definitely worth celebrating, she agreed as they walked together toward the main concert hall. Not bad for a program that started with 6 homeless musicians. 7, Liam corrected. "Don't forget, I was the first one." Rhodes laughed. As if anyone could forget. You've been on every major news feed on 7 worlds. The homeless human who became the first non-Centauri master of the harmonic piano. That's not the important part of the story, Liam said as they reached the backstage area. No, she asked. No, he replied, gazing out at the filled concert hall where graduates of the Harmony Project, human and, now, 3 other species, waited with their families and teachers. The important part is that everyone deserves to be heard. Everyone has something valuable to contribute. Sometimes they just need someone to listen. As Liam walked onto the stage to thunderous applause, he caught sight of Master Torvin in the front row, his aged face beaming with pride. Beside him sat Valari, who had become both colleague and friend. And scattered throughout the audience were the faces of those who had once been homeless, hopeless, invisible, now musicians, teachers, students. Liam took his place at the center of the stage, where a traditional earth piano had been placed beside a Centauri harmonic piano. He would play both tonight, bridging worlds as he had been doing ever since that rainy evening when a group of aliens had laughed at a hungry man's simple sign. "Can I play for food?" He positioned his hands over the keys and began to play. The music filled the hall, complex yet accessible, alien yet familiar. It spoke of struggle and triumph, of prejudice overcome, of connections forged across seemingly insurmountable differences. It was the sound of humanity finding its place in a vast and diverse galaxy, not through force or fear, but through the universal language of music. "Play on," whispered Master Torvin from the audience, too softly for anyone to hear. "Play on, my human friend. The galaxy is finally listening." As the final notes of Liam's composition resonated through the hall, the audience rose in a standing ovation that continued for nearly 5 minutes. Human and alien alike recognized that they had witnessed something truly transcendent, a performance that went beyond mere technical mastery to touch something profound and universal. Later that evening, after the formal reception had ended, Liam found himself back in the practice room where it had all begun a year ago. He sat at the harmonic piano, not playing, just running his fingers lightly over the keys. The door opened quietly, and Valari entered. "I thought I might find you here," she said. "Just thinking," Liam replied. She sat beside him on the bench, an arrangement that would have been unthinkable before their partnership had revolutionized interspecies musical collaboration. "About what?" she asked. "About how quickly things can change," he said. "A year ago, I was hungry and hopeless. Now," he gestured vaguely at the world around them. "Now you are changing the galaxy's understanding of human potential," Valari finished for him, "and challenging my species' assumptions about our own superiority." Liam smiled. "That wasn't my intention." "Perhaps not," she conceded. "But it is the effect nonetheless. And it is needed." She looked at him seriously. "The Centauri have long considered ourselves the pinnacle of musical achievement. Your existence forces us to reconsider many things. Is that uncomfortable for you?" Liam asked. "Growth usually is," she replied. "But necessary." Her 4 hands moved to the keyboard. "I have been practicing the piece you composed. Would you like to hear?" Liam nodded, and Valari began to play. The composition he had written specifically for her emphasized the unique capabilities of Centauri physiology while incorporating emotional elements more common in human music. As she played, Liam noticed something remarkable. Valari was adding her own interpretive elements, infusing the piece with her distinct personality in a way that enhanced rather than altered his original vision. When she finished, he sat in appreciative silence for a moment. "That was beautiful," he said finally. "You brought something to it that I couldn't." "That is the nature of true musical exchange," she replied. "It is why, despite my initial skepticism about humans, I now believe your species has much to teach mine." "And yours has much to teach us," Liam said. "That's what the Harmony Project is really about, not just helping those in need, but creating genuine exchange, breaking down the walls we build around our cultures, our achievements, our sense of superiority." Valari considered this, her luminescent eyes thoughtful. "The Centauri Council of Masters has asked me to extend an invitation," she said after a pause. They wish you to compose the centerpiece for next year's Galactic Concordance celebration. Liam stared at her in shock. The Concordance is the most prestigious musical event in the known galaxy. No human has ever been invited to participate, let alone as the featured composer. Times are changing, Valari said simply. As the implications sank in, Liam felt a weight of responsibility settle on him. This isn't just about me anymore, is it? This is about establishing humanity's place in galactic culture. Yes, Valari agreed. But it is also about your unique gift. Do not diminish that in an attempt at modesty. She rose from the bench. Consider the invitation. There is no rush for your answer. After she left, Liam remained in the practice room, his mind racing with possibilities. He had come so far from that desperate night playing for food. Now he was being offered the chance to represent his entire species on the galaxy's most prestigious musical stage. The thought was both exhilarating and terrifying. But as he placed his hands on the keys and began to play, just for himself, just for the joy of it, he knew his answer would be yes. Not for fame or recognition, but because music had given him a second chance at life, and now he had the opportunity to create something that might help bridge the vast differences between worlds. As dawn broke over New Harmony, Liam finally left the practice room. Outside the Cultural Exchange Center, the city was coming to life. Humans and aliens beginning their days, moving in the complex dance of a truly interstellar community. A year ago, he had been invisible to them, just another homeless human to ignore or pity. Now he walked among them as an equal, his gift recognized and valued not despite his humanity, but because of it. The universe, it seemed, had a strange and wonderful music of its own, a composition of chance and choice, of suffering and redemption, of misunderstanding and revelation. And Liam Carter, once homeless and hungry, now found himself with the extraordinary privilege of adding his own unique notes to that cosmic symphony. On the morning of the Galactic Concordance celebration 1 year later, Liam stood at the viewport of a Zentari transport ship, watching as the massive station that would host the event came into view. Constructed in neutral space between three major galactic territories, the Concordance Station was a marvel of cooperative engineering, a permanent monument to the ideal of interspecies harmony. Nervous? Asked Master Torvin, joining him at the viewport. Terrified, Liam admitted. I'm about to present my composition to representatives from 27 species, most of whom have never heard human music before. They have heard human music, Torvin corrected gently. What they have never heard is your music. There is a difference. Liam smiled gratefully at his mentor. In the 2 years since their reunion, their relationship had deepened into something that transcended teacher and student, something closer to family. Torvin had become Liam's anchor in a life that sometimes felt like a whirlwind of performances, teaching, and advocacy. The piece is ready, Liam said, more to himself than to Torvin. Whether I am or not. The composition he had created for the Concordance was his most ambitious work yet, a symphonic piece for harmonic piano and a specially assembled orchestra including musicians from 12 different species, each bringing instruments native to their worlds. Titled Convergence, it told the story of a universe where difference was not just tolerated but celebrated as essential to the whole. As their ship docked at the station, Liam was met by a delegation of officials, including representatives from Earth's government. Mr. Carter, said one of them, extending his hand. I'm Ambassador Cole Bennett. On behalf of humanity, thank you for accepting this historic invitation. Liam shook the ambassador's hand, still uncomfortable with the weight of expectation that had been placed on his shoulders. He was no longer just Liam Carter, musician. He had become, willingly or not, a symbol of human artistic potential. The next 12 hours were a blur of rehearsals, diplomatic receptions, and media interviews. Throughout it all, Liam kept returning to the central performance chamber where his interspecies orchestra practiced his composition. Each time, he made small adjustments, not to the notes themselves, but to the emotional intent behind them, guiding musicians from worlds with vastly different cultural traditions toward a shared understanding. Finally, the moment arrived. The concordance chamber, designed to accommodate beings of all physiologies, was filled to capacity with over 10,000 attendees, plus an estimated 5 billion watching via direct neural feeds across the connected worlds. As Liam took his position at the harmonic piano, he glanced at Valari, who would be performing alongside him in a duet section. She gave him the Zentari gesture for "the moment is now," all four hands forming a precise geometric pattern that conveyed confidence and readiness. The chamber fell silent. Liam closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and began to play. Convergence opened with a solo harmonic piano segment, deceptively simple, using only a fraction of the instrument's capabilities. The theme was deliberately human in its construction, accessible, emotional, searching. Gradually, other instruments joined, each introducing elements characteristic of their species' musical traditions. What followed was unlike anything the concordance had ever featured, a true conversation between worlds, expressed through sound. The composition didn't force these diverse elements into human musical structures, nor did it simply juxtapose them. Instead, it created a framework where each tradition could maintain its integrity while contributing to something greater than the sum of its parts. The centerpiece was the duet between Liam and Valari, human and Zentari playing as equals, their different physiologies and cultural backgrounds transformed from limitations into creative opportunities. As they played together, their music told the story of their own journey from misunderstanding to respect, from prejudice to partnership. By the time the final movement began, a complex, joyous celebration of unity and diversity, the audience was completely transfixed. Beings with radically different sensory apparatus were nonetheless sharing a profound emotional experience, bridging gaps that diplomacy and trade had never fully crossed. The conclusion of Convergence was not a traditional dramatic finale, but a gentle fading, suggesting that the conversation between worlds would continue, evolving indefinitely into the future. When the last note faded, there was a moment of absolute silence. Then, the chamber erupted in what each species recognized as expressions of appreciation: applause, harmonic vocalizations, pheromone releases, bioluminescent displays. Liam stood and bowed alongside his orchestra. As he straightened, he caught sight of a small group at the back of the human section. 6 former homeless musicians who had been among the first participants in the Harmony Project. They had come all this way to witness his triumph, and their presence moved him more deeply than the accolades of dignitaries and critics. At the reception that followed, Liam found himself approached by beings from worlds he had never even heard of, each expressing through translators their profound appreciation for his work. "Your music speaks of something we have long sought but rarely achieved," said the representative of a species known for their mathematical approach to art. "It demonstrates that difference need not be an obstacle to harmony." As the evening progressed, Liam eventually found a quiet corner where he could process the enormity of what had just occurred. He was joined by Master Torvin, who sat beside him in companionable silence for several minutes. "When I found you," the elderly Zentari finally said, "a young human child playing in that small concert hall on Earth, I recognized something special. Not just talent, but vision. The ability to see beyond the constraints of your own species' traditions. You took a chance on me," Liam said gratefully. "As you later took a chance on others," Torvin replied. "The circle completes itself." They were interrupted by Ambassador Bennett, who approached with an expression of barely contained excitement. "Mr. Carter, I have extraordinary news," he announced. "The Galactic Council has just approved the establishment of the first interspecies conservatory of music to be built in New Harmony. They have unanimously requested that you serve as its founding director." Liam stared at him in disbelief. "Ambassador, I'm a musician, not an administrator." "You're more than that," Bennett insisted. "You've become a bridge between worlds. The Council recognizes what you've accomplished with the Harmony Project, not just in identifying and nurturing talent, but in creating genuine cultural exchange." This is an unprecedented opportunity, added Torvin, for both humanity and the greater galactic community. As Liam considered the offer, he thought about his journey, from celebrated prodigy to homeless outcast to interstellar symbol of human artistic potential. Each step, even the painful ones, had prepared him for this moment. "I'll accept," he said finally, "on one condition. The conservatory must prioritize finding and developing talent from disadvantaged backgrounds across all participating species." "I believe the council will find that condition most acceptable," Bennett said with a smile. Later that night, as the celebrations continued, Liam slipped away to one of the station's observation decks. He stood alone, gazing out at the vast expanse of stars, each one potentially circled by worlds with their own musical traditions, their own forms of expression waiting to be discovered. His thoughts drifted back to that rainy evening outside the Cultural Exchange Center, hungry and desperate, holding his simple sign, "Can I play for food?" The Zentari had laughed then, not recognizing the talent before them, just as so many passed by the homeless without seeing their humanity, their potential, their worth. Now, standing at the threshold of a new chapter in galactic cultural history, Liam made a silent promise to never stop playing, teaching, and building bridges through music, to never forget what it felt like to be invisible, and to always remember that sometimes the greatest gifts come in the most unexpected packages. As if in response to his thoughts, a soft melody drifted through the observation deck, a Zentari folk song being played somewhere nearby. Liam smiled, closed his eyes, and let the alien music wash over him, already hearing in his mind how it might blend with human elements to create something new and beautiful. In a universe of infinite diversity, he had found his purpose, not just to play for food, but to nourish souls across the stars with the universal language of music. And that was the end of the story. If you listened all the way to here, don't forget to leave feedback about what you thought of the story in the comments, whether positive or negative. Your feedback helps us improve. Also, leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. And I'll leave here on the screen another video that I'm sure you'll like. Big hug, and see you in the next story.